Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspired with Christopher Williams. I am your host, Christopher Williams, navigator and motivator with you on the path to accomplishing your goals and achieving your dreams. Thank you, as always, to everybody who's not only following the show, whether it be through the BizLinks network or online through YouTube. Anybody who's tuning into the Points of Power segments that we put online on Instagram, hey, thank you very much. We're very appreciative and very happy that you're getting a lot out of the show, whether it be something that you've always wondered and just didn't know who to ask, or if something that you may have got a question about during your week and you're like, you know what, maybe there's some information out there. And next thing you know, you're searching and you find the show and you tune in. So thank you very much for that. I greatly appreciate it. It's always good to know that you guys are getting something out of it that you can not only take with you, but you can also pass along to somebody that you may know may need the information. So keep it coming. Keep the feedback coming. Facebook.com/Williams Inc., OneWilliamsEnterprises.com, and Christopher at OneWilliamsEnterprises.com is the email address. And the Instagram account, Williams_Enterprises. Always available to you. Just let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or if you just, always been wondering about something and you may need somebody to come out and give a speech or something. I'm always available. Let me know what you need and I'll see if I can accommodate you. We're going to keep on with the Viewer's Choice segments of the show. These have been very good. I've definitely been having as much fun as you guys have been having as far as doing these, because I like that it's direct feedback. And I like that you guys are truly interacting with me on the show. So just make sure you realize that when you talk to me online, it's me, right? It's not some automated system or anything like that. It's me talking to you. So keep it coming, just in case you were wondering, well, this is really him. He may not be saying much. It's me, so don't worry about that. So keep it coming, keep the feedback coming, and we'll keep providing you with the content that you guys are showing me that you love and you appreciate. Today's segment is going to be very, very relevant to, I think, what's going on in our society as far as marketing goes. So much is going on. So many different mediums are out there now where you can reach people, you can reach organizations, you can reach different groups, demographics. So what we're going to talk about today is something I like to call social media responsibility. And this actually came from a colleague of mine who was asking some questions about how to grow his, how to grow his fan base and how to get his product out there a lot more. And we got to talking about some things and some questions came up. And we ended up talking about more so ways to protect yourself than we started talking about ways of actually making sure you're reaching the masses, so to speak. So I thought this was very relevant and very important information, because if you're in the business of selling something, whether that be an item, a product, a good, or anything like that, any kind of service, you want to make sure that you're protected, because you never know who's out there, who's watching, and who may be trying to get some things from you not in the right way. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. We're going to lay some, kind of make sure we identify what my idea of social responsibility is, social media responsibility. And we're going to make sure that we understand exactly how we can protect ourselves, but also how we can kind of make sure we're talking to the right people, the people that we want to talk to, and make sure that we're able to kind of funnel through, kind of the right people that we want to get our content, but also making sure that the content that we're putting out is what we're trying to put out, not just what's popular, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is your online identity. Now, when you think of your online identity, it's not just your username or your hashtag name, depending on which medium you use, but it's truly who you are. And you have to remember that who you are online should be the same either person or company that you are in person. You have to also remember that your online presence is for those people who can't directly either reach your store or reach your product or service in person, but they want to continue to keep up with you online and on the go, wherever they may be, wherever you may be. These are people that really want to connect with you and that like what you have to offer. So they want to make sure that they're able to get an online version of you if they can't get the in-person version of you, okay? Now that's very important to remember, because a lot of people kind of lose track of that. So you have to remember that just because it's online doesn't mean that it's not still the same you as it is in person. So when you're online and you're whether you're selling a product, a good, or whether you're selling an idea, you want to make sure that that content is the same. It should be very parallel to who you are in person. You don't want somebody, who may be in another country. If you're, big internationally, You don't want somebody in another country that has a different idea of you than somebody who actually is right down the street from your store. So you want to make sure that that content is very the same. You want to make sure that the same group or demographic that you're trying to target in your business plan. It's the same. You want to make sure it's the same group. You don't want to give off a different idea online than you do in person. You never know. Those people who follow you online may get a chance to meet with you in person, and you don't want them to feel like you're two different people. So keep that online identity in mind, because this is what's going to also not only help you grow your audience, it's going to help you grow the right audience. And that's going to be very key as far as when you're thinking about maybe growing or expanding, or maybe growing, if you're trying to, grow an idea that branches off of what you already do. Also, like I've been hinting to, your audience is very important as well. Think about the people that normally either shop in your store, or the people who normally either invest in your product. If that's become your niche group, try to make sure that your online content caters to that demographic. It's okay to get many people online. You talk about trying to get more people, trying to grow your presence, trying to grow your business. That's all well and good, but you have to remember, sometimes it's better to be lean and it's better to be effective than it is to try to have a whole bunch of people who may not invest a dime in you at any point in time. So just try to make sure that the audience that you attract, or that the audience that you've identified as your target audience in person, is the same audience that you're attracting online. These are people who are going to more than likely invest in you in some shape, form, or fashion, and some dollar amount, right? When you think of your target audience and you think of your target group, I always tell people to think about it like this. Think about your biggest fan, right? For me, that's going to be my mom. I'm not going to lie to you. My mom, I can tell her I'm trying to do anything, and if she got $20 in her pocket right then, she'll say, I'll give you $20 now, and I'll give you $20 when I get paid. So for me, that's my mom. Well, I say it's my dad, too. He's more so kind of a business mind person, so he's going to want to know some information. But I guess collectively it's my parents, right? So when I think of those people, I think of, okay, so I have my target audience. I have the people who are going to invest a certain amount of me no matter what. Then I got to think about, okay, well, if I'm trying to do something and I pitch an idea to them right then, how much are they willing to invest in me at that time? That could be $20, that could be $100, that can be $120. Okay, cool. So if that's the case, you now have a target audience, you now have a dollar amount, and then you also want to think about, is that somebody that's going to really check in, or who's really going to be invested, I guess, attention-wise in you on a regular basis? And if that's the case, cool. Guess what? You now have an idea of what that dollar amount is going to be for your biggest audience or your biggest fan. You keep that in mind, because when you're thinking about your online presence, you want to think about those people. Because those people are the people that you're hoping are not only investing in you time, talent, treasure-wise, but those are the people that you're hoping tell people like them that'll be willing to do the same. So if that's your audience, make sure your content is tailored towards those people. Because you rather have more of those people than more of just random people who hear about you and just may want to hear something that you have to say and keep it moving about their own daily life. So not only that, you want to make sure that you keep up with your awareness piece, right? Be aware of who's watching your content. Be aware of the content you're putting online. You want to keep in mind that people are invested in your business and in your product. They don't necessarily always know you as the person, especially if you're doing a lot of your own marketing, a lot of your own social media, a lot of those things. A lot of people like to keep, do on their own, because they like to see who's watching, who's looking, who's tweeting, who's sharing, all this kind of stuff. But you want to make sure that you're aware, because if you're out there and you're posting a lot of things and you're drawing a different crowd, that may be something you want to maybe invest a little more time in. So being aware of the company you keep online is just as important as being aware of the company you keep in person, because those people are going to tell more people like them. And you want to make sure that the content that you have are not only going to attract that person, but it's going to attract the person that they bring with them, because all of it works together as far as your online presence and those who are willing to invest their time into you. So these are a few things to keep in mind as you're thinking about how to become more socially responsible for your online business and your online presence. Okay, so now that we've laid a little bit of idea of what this social media responsibility thing is, You may want to say, well, you know what? Who am I online? Right? Sometimes you really do have to ask yourself that. Just like I was telling you about the business plan. Sometimes after you've been in business for a couple months to a year, you may have to reevaluate, okay, well, what am I really selling at this point versus what I was selling at the beginning? Your online presence is the same thing. You may want to look back and see, okay, what have my last posts been about, or what has the content been about for the last couple weeks, couple months. It's really up to you how you want to kind of reevaluate things. But you really want to think about who you are online. And one of the ways you can think about that is think about maybe the goals that you have set for yourself, either that you currently have or the goals that you may have set for yourself in the beginning. Am I really trying to do the same thing that I was trying to do in the beginning of my social media campaign? Some social media campaigns may be about, promoting a specific product that you're pushing out. And if that's the case, that's great. But realize that that product may have run its course. So you may want to change up what you're trying to do and maybe change up the audience you're trying to, attract. If you're selling things, that's very important for you to do because you're not always selling the same things all the time. If you're, selling clothes, you want to sell what's trendy and what's fashionable, but you also want to sell something that you truly can believe in. If you're selling an idea, or maybe you're more of an inspirational type like myself, you may want to look at if that goal is if it's a short-term goal or if it's a long-term goal. And if that's the case, at what point am I really ready to switch it up a little bit? At what point am I really ready to, kind of get off one topic and jump on something else? So just being aware of your goals that you have for yourself or for your business, if you're sole proprietorship, or if you're just a media representative for a larger company. Think about the goals that you set for yourself as a company, and think about the goals that you set for your online campaign. Am I really trying to engage more of my audience, or am I really trying to just make my audience aware of something that my company feels is very important? Just staying aware of everything, because sometimes your audience may change, depending on what you're trying to promote. And if you're noticing that you're really not liking as much of your, the feedback that you're getting on your content, then you want to listen to the people that are, putting that stuff out, if you're attracting the right group that you want. So making sure that the goals are the same goals that you may have had in the beginning, or if it's time to change those goals, making sure that you're aware of that and you're starting the process of, changing those things up, are all very important. And you want to make sure that the content that you're sharing is very filtered, okay? Depending on which medium you're using online, some people use Facebook, some people use Instagram, I use both. Some people use Snapchat. I think there's also Periscope out there that's becoming very popular for people who do speaking and those kind of things. Make sure you know the medium that you're using. If you're using Instagram, hashtags. That's a great way to filter the content and filter who may be able to see your content. But depending on the medium you're using, you may not have as much, you may not have as much ability to control that, but you can control the content that you're putting on. So if you can control more of the content, that may streamline things even more for you. But if you have control over, who sees what, which audience is tuning into what, then that may also help kind of weed out, the people that you really don't think the content's for. And also maybe bring in more people that you may feel can benefit from those things as well. So once you've figured out who you are online, the next thing you want to think about is, okay, well, now that I know who I am online, it's matching up with who I am in person. I'm attracting the same people, so that's great. But then you want to start thinking about as well as, okay, am I delivering the right message that I feel I should be delivering? Now, this is very important because going back to, the filtered content portion, you want to make sure that you're doing a good amount of your own crowd control if you can. Now, the reason I say this is because sometimes when you're posting content and you're putting, whether it's be hashtags or whether it be, tagging certain people, tagging certain companies, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence when it comes to your crowd control. And I say that because sometimes you really just don't know who's who. Even though you may say, okay, well, I want people to look at this who are business-minded people. Well, that's great, but you may also run into people who, who say they're business-minded, but they may be, high schoolers or something. which is fine. I mean, if you're doing something that's inspirational, you're trying to make sure people are motivated to do, to do great things. That's cool. But if you're trying to sell something, is somebody at this level of life really going to be into this? And what was their motivation of maybe visiting my page or taking a look at my content? And that, you don't want to get too involved or too crazy about drawing in a whole bunch of people who are not going to be that vested in you. But you want to make sure that you at least have an idea, right? It's all about having an idea of who should be able to see what I'm posting and who should be able to get the most out of what I'm posting. A lot of that goes into crowd control, but a lot of things also go into that as well, like, the likes that you have, the followers, and what you share. Now, with this, you want to think about it from your own standpoint, right? Remember, I told you, you are your company 24/7. So you want to make sure that the things you're liking, the things that you're sharing, and the things that you're posting that do not directly come from you are things that are going to truly line up with what your mission for your business is. And the reason that's a big, a big part of the, this whole, social media responsibility thing is because if you're drawing a type of crowd and people are liking what you're posting, people are liking your content, then all of a sudden you post something that's kind of out of the blue simply because you thought it was funny or simply because you thought it was, something that, you felt was a cool picture or something. Nowadays on social media, people can see that. If you're on Instagram and you hit the Explore Post tab, a lot of times people can see what you like. And if you're posting on behalf of your company or you're posting on behalf of a bigger company, that's that can be very critical. Some people who are saying, well, I like them because they always have something positive to say or they always on point with their messages, and then all of a sudden they see you post something that's kind of negative, that's going to kind of throw them off. And the reason it's going to throw them off is because nowadays you have so many things out there that do like a lot of automatic posts for you. I know Instagram is pretty strict on that kind of thing, but there are still a lot of mediums out there that get past those security checkpoints. And then your crowd may start to feel like you're not genuine. And that's when you start to lose the main audience that you may have started your social media campaign up to get, right? You don't want that. You want to make sure that if it's something that's business related, you want to make sure that that stays that way. If it's something that's going to attract the demographic that you're trying to reach, you want to make sure that your content, the things that you like, the things that you post, are going to stay in line with that overall vision for your online presence. That way you're not losing the main crowd that you have just to try to reach people that really have no idea what you provide, who you are, or anything like that. So make sure that you're aware of the posts that you make. Make sure you're aware of the reposts that you make. A lot of people have Snapchat, all these things. You want to make sure that those things are in direct correlation with the vision that you have for your company and for your business. Like I said, make sure that the people that you have with you or that came with you are going to stay with you. And the main way you're going to be able to do that is make sure you're providing them with the content that they started off liking and the reason that they started off with you. Don't go off losing those people trying to gain people who have no idea what you're doing. Keep those people because those people are going to be the ones that support you, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whoever. I've had a lot of people get in touch with me online and say, hey, do you have a Periscope? I want to make sure I'm following you if you do. And that means a lot because that means that they already know, hey, if this is what he's posting here, I can only imagine what he's posting over here. They're not saying, well, he's this guy over here, but I don't know if he's the same guy over here. And that's a good thing. That's the foundation I've laid for myself, and that's the foundation that we're going to keep because that's what's bringing you guys to the show, too. I have to remember that. But letting you know this so that you can be socially aware, socially responsible, not only for yourself, for your business, but for any other business that you may represent. Have to remember we're entrepreneurs, so we help each other. But if I'm helping you and you're promoting something that I don't agree with, guess what? You're now losing a whole company instead of just one person. So make sure that these things are things that you're looking into as a owner, as a marketing director, and as an individual because we want to make sure we're growing. We don't want to die. We want to grow. All right?
10 years to learn the business. 10 years to make a name. 1 year on your own. It takes time to build a small business, but only 60 days to transform it with email marketing from Constant Contact. Sign up with Constant Contact and get 60 days of free email marketing to generate referrals, connect with clients, and build the business you've always wanted. Constant Contact. Start your 60-day free trial today.
Welcome back to Inspired with Christopher Williams. We want to thank our sponsors for helping make the show possible. A lot of the content that we bring you guys is so important, and not only that, a lot of it's coming directly from you guys. And one of the only ways that I'm able to hear your voice is because the sponsors out there help make that possible. So we want to thank you guys, and also thank any sponsors that are considering sponsoring the show in advance. Thank you very much for your consideration. Today's point of power is going to kind of be a story. I've experienced a couple things within the last couple days, and I figured it'd probably be relevant to share with you. So this point of power is going to be entitled "Let It Go." I was actually in a situation where I had an opportunity to talk to somebody about potentially coming on board with the movement that we have here on Inspire, and they referred me to somebody, so I got a chance to interact with them, just letting them know what we're doing, how the idea is going, and they just got this look on their face, and I could just tell they really were not interested. And that led to them being a little bit rude to me a little bit, and I was like, well, darn, it's not, that wasn't the reaction I was trying to get from you. I just gave you information. And what happened was they kind of gave me an answer that really, didn't have a whole lot of meaning to it, just something to get me out of the way. So much so that the person that made the introduction even was like, oh, that was kind of rude. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But I had a choice to make in that moment. I could either see it for what I thought it was at that moment, and just that, somebody was not professional with me, or I could change my thinking about it. Now, what I ended up doing is, of course, changing my thinking. Hey, maybe there was some reason behind it. And when I stopped and when I thought about it, there actually was. In a roundabout way, they actually gave me the answer I was looking for. But if I was not willing to change my thought process of how I took that situation, I would have missed the opportunity. And the reason I say it's let it go is because, A, you don't want to hold a grudge. You go through life and you go through times where you're trying to do things and you're going to run into roadblocks, and sometimes those roadblocks are going to be people. Some people have good intentions, but they're not good communicators. You really can't take that and hold that against anybody because they don't communicate the way you communicate, or they don't understand the way you understand, or they really just don't see your vision. Remember us talking about your vision is not necessarily for anybody else, it's for you. So sometimes that vision is for people to find out, but only for you to know. But the reason you have to let it go is because everybody makes mistakes at some point. I'm sure you can think back on times where you didn't necessarily do something that you thought you should have done, or somebody else thought you would have done. But the idea is that you're not always going to be in the same place you are now. And neither is that person or that company, right? Entrepreneurs, we're dealing with companies sometimes all day. But you can't always hold one setback against somebody or some company. For the simple fact is that you may become in a better situation the next day, or a couple months from then. And then that person's going to want to work with you. But if you're holding a grudge, guess what? You're going to miss out on a grand opportunity. You're not holding that person back because you're trying to say, well, you didn't help me when I needed the help then. You're holding yourself back. Guess what? You're missing money on the table. So you can't do that, Go through things, learn from them. Make a decision to turn that situation around. I truly would have missed the opportunity that I had if I would have just sat there and said, well, that's the last time I'm going to come over here. I don't like what this person says because they represent this company. And no, I enjoy certain companies, and it's just a matter of things not lining up all the time. So remember, let things go. You experience them, choose to learn from them. It's a choice you make. You can either choose to let it fester inside and let it become something negative that you hold a grudge for, or you can say, you know what did I learn from this? Because guess what? Now you're learning about what you can gather from it, what you can use from that with something else, and you're willing to realize that all your energy is now being positive instead of being negative. Now you're not even remembering the negative side of that interaction, you're remembering the positive side. So if you have another interaction with that same company or that same person, it's going to be in a very positive atmosphere. It's going to be very positive energy. And you're not going to really even worry about what went wrong the last time, because guess what? You're in a position where you can truly make a bigger difference or a bigger impact than you did at first. So remember, let things go. Sometimes we all need mercy, right? Let's just be honest, right? But if we're not willing to give mercy, how can you be willing to expect mercy? And sometimes the answers that you need, or that little push that you need to get that proposal to go through, it may come from somebody who was in the same situation you're in, but they were given mercy. But if you're never willing to give mercy, it's a good chance in your situations or in your proposals, some people are really just aren't even going to hear you out. And you have to realize that, well, when I was in that situation, did I? Or was I saying, I don't want to deal with it, I'm going to be rude? So just remember, you have a choice to make. Choose mercy and choose to let it go. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. We always have a great time, and hopefully we have one extra person than we did last time, because somebody chose to share the information and somebody chose to bring somebody else into the group. So welcome. So thank you guys for everything, tuning in. Remember, you can always check us out on BizLinks TV Network, YouTube. We're always available there as well. And shoot me a message if you have any questions. OneWilliamsEnterprises.com, Christopher at OneWilliamsEnterprises, and Facebook.com/Williams Inc., as well as Instagram, Williams_Enterprises. Always available, always at your disposal. And until next time, stay inspired.